Greetings and thank you for joining us for Pennsylvania College Application Campaign's webinar. My name is Joni Petschauer and I'm the trainer for the American College Application Campaign. We're really excited about supporting Philadelphia's expansion of their program. A couple of housekeeping activities. We want to make sure that you know that this webinar is being recorded. We will share the recording with all the participants within 14 business days. Secondly, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat panel on the screen and submit to all panelists. Mike Dotz is joining me and he'll be able to let me know what questions show up. If you need any tech support, please use Zoom's chat live with their support team. Further, you can join the audio broadcast by two ways. One, you can do it through your computer by joining the webinar and saying that you want to use the sound on your computer. And secondly, you can call in by telephone, and that information is located on your invitation. The topics we're going to cover today is to share a little bit about what the entire American College Application Campaign is. We want you to be aware of what our 2018 goal is. And then we want to give you very pragmatic strategies for how you prepare your school for the campaign, how you prepare your students for the campaign, what it takes to recruit and prepare volunteers, what you do the day of the event, and then immediately following. In our business, we think that sometimes helping a student go to college is as simple as helping them apply. We know that that assistance can make all the difference in the world. We do have some key reasons for the American College Application Campaign. The first has to do with global economic competitiveness. Our nation has fallen behind other industrialized nations to 16th position, in fact, in the educational attainment levels for 25 to 34-year-olds. Even though our 55 to 64-year-old population is among the most highly educated group in the world. We're tied for third place for that population with Canada and only behind Israel and Russia. The implication is that the most highly educated workforce is being replaced by a less educated workforce. A second reason has to do with the changing demographics in this country. The fastest growing population is first generation, often from low to moderate income families and students of color. We need a different approach to getting students involved in the educational pipeline. And then lastly, an educated citizenry is needed for democracy. Providing students with skills and high quality credentials that allow them to have a livable wage job is not a luxury, but is a shared responsibility for us all. So what is the American College Application Campaign? Well, our goals are to increase the number of students applying, enrolling, and succeeding in college, which involves a little bit of extra work when you want them to go to a college that they can be successful in. We focus on first-generation students and students from low-income families. We believe that it should happen in the fall. That is the time that the most privileged students in our country apply to college, and we need our least privileged students to follow the same timeline. It takes place during the school day, and that is to make sure that we are providing an equitable opportunity for students to apply to college. Everybody has the equal chance of applying, but if they have to do it after school, some students don't have access to that. So it's really important that we use school resources to make sure that students can apply. And while your state may choose a month or 2 months to host their campaign, each participating high school typically only hosts an event 1 or 2 days. The American College Application Campaign is a low-cost, no-cost program designed to enhance and expand the college-going culture and expectations. And to make that happen, we utilize existing networks and we inform the student population, we provide follow-through, and we link to other national initiatives. We use school personnel and volunteers to maintain a low-cost, no-cost program. A little history. In 2005, this approach was piloted in one high school in North Carolina. It was a Gear Up High School. And it very quickly became a standard practice in North Carolina's Gear Up High Schools. By 2008, some of our neighbors, South Carolina and Georgia and Tennessee, asked us to help them implement the program in their Gear Up programs. By 2011, we had 7 states that were involved, and ACE acquired the program. They created a national steering committee, and with foundation support, we were able to pilot with 3 more states. That would have been Kentucky, Michigan, and Minnesota. Kentucky, Michigan, and Wisconsin, to try and see if what we'd been doing with people we knew around us in the South were able to understand the same concept. Did it have applicability for the nation? By 2014, all 50 states in the District of Columbia had piloted the American College Application Campaign in their states. In 2015, we reached a milestone. We had over 1 million students who'd been served since 2005. And by 2017, we were at over 2 million students. So we're quickly ramping up, and we're seeing a difference in the lives of people in America. Our structure is a lean one. There's only 2 full-time equivalents working on this nationwide from the specific national office. However, we are reliant on our statewide coordinators and each of the site coordinators at the high schools that choose to take this on as an initiative to serve their students. The American College Application Campaign National Office works closely with the state coordinators. We host a convening each year so that they can all come together and share ideas about what's working in their states. And the statewide coordinator works very closely with each of the high school site coordinators. The goal, of course, is to get students to apply to college. Our results are pretty extraordinary for a program that is as lean as ours. In 2017, we had over 6,000 high schools host events, over 500,000 students participated, and over 800,000 college applications were submitted. We couldn't be more proud of the work that our state coordinators and high school site coordinators are doing. They are the heart and soul of this program. And for 2018, our goal is to have at least 7,000 high schools participate in the program nationwide. So we hope that your high school is one of those that gets us to our goal. So let's think about, how do you prepare your school to host the event? Well, normally, if you're in the second year of your program, we recommend that you spend about 8 weeks preparing your students, preparing your staff, making sure that you're not trying to do too much too quickly. You're really fortunate that you get the luxury of picking either any day in November or in December to host your campaign. So you've got time now to prepare. 8 weeks is a sort of goal. 6 weeks is certainly possible. And we've had high schools with only 2 weeks of time in front of them set this up and make a successful program. Here are our expectations. Ideally, you plan 6 to 8 weeks prior to the event. But again, remember what I said, when you're doing this on a short time frame, depending on how you set up your school team, you can get this done in a shorter time frame. It's really important to assist students find the right institutional fit. You want students to have an opportunity, and this is where the time comes in, to draft any college admission essays ahead of time, as well as secure information that's going to be needed to complete the application. Certain things like social security numbers, understanding what their residency requirements are, and or any test scores that they need to be able to report are the kinds of items that we think students need to know ahead of time. You do need to identify a location with computer and internet access. Our previous state coordinators and site coordinators have told us that is the one thing that you need to do early in the spring for when you want to host your event. Check when school starts back in the fall, and then check 2 weeks prior to your event to make sure that you're still the person that's reserved that computer lab. Your goal is to ensure that all students in your high school have the opportunity to submit at least one application. By that, I think it's really important to know that this is invitational for all students. You're going to have some early appliers. They're the students that the school counselors have to spend time with in August to ensure that those applications go in early. They're the eager beavers. They're the ones that have always known they were going to college, and that's great. They're invited to participate in this activity later in the semester too, if they want to submit another application. But the goal is to be sure that those students who may or may not have ever thought about going to college have the opportunity to apply to college. And that's where, by inviting the whole school to participate, you're not singling out someone that may be first generation or from a low-income family. Lastly, it's really important that you track and share data with your state coordinator. What we ask of the state coordinator is to simply provide us with the number of high schools in the state that participated, the number of students that participated at all high schools, and the number of applications that those students submitted. Now, your state coordinator may ask for something else, but at this point, that's all we ask for at the national office. There are a number of available resources that are on our website, and that's going to be something that you'll see the website address in a minute. But we have, for site coordinators, a wonderful array of materials that other site coordinators have shared with us, and we have put together in manuals. There's a checklist and timeline for the site coordinator. When you have a committee, you want to have help you put this on, don't try to do it by yourself. There's an audit you can go through to talk about where are we already doing this stuff and where should we add some information. There's a planning committee agenda, different frequently asked questions. We have a strong social media presence, and you're invited to participate in that with your students. Other ways that you can build your program, and probably not in the first year, but certainly by year 2 or 3, asking your mayor in your hometown to proclaim that this is college application day or week at your high school. And there's a sample proclamation in the materials. There's a student and family information letter that you can utilize. We think it's important to connect to the FAFSA completion activities. So you want to remind students that not only do they apply to college, but that they also apply for financial aid. We have some information about financial aid that you can share with students. There are 10 steps that students should think about when they're applying, and you've got that checklist to give to them. And lastly, we have Ask Me About It stickers and posters that you can copy and utilize for your students. So how do you prepare students for the event? Well, there are 5 steps that we consider to be pretty essential to this particular activity. 1, you want to share information and build awareness around college applications. 2, and this is the hardest one, finding a way to provide individualized advising for the student, as well as to share research options that they can utilize as they try to narrow down which colleges are right for them. You want to assist students to complete their application. They can start it, but often they hit a barrier, and that's where it's really important to have that extra nudge from an adult mentor. To the extent possible, it's critical to engage parents in your community in this. When students see that everyone is behind them, then they're more likely to finish it. And the last thing is assisting students make a final decision and to plan ahead. Often students will avoid applying to college because they don't know if they can go next year. Well, that may change. What's important is that they try to find a way to plan for the future and let that happen. We have a number of students who will tell us, well, I'm going into the military, and we don't think that that's a bad decision. We're very happy for that to happen, but we also encourage them to apply to college because what may happen next May may be different than what they think they want to do today. To build awareness and to share information, we think the Ask Me buttons that the teachers and administrators and adults in the building can wear, they can ask you about the campaign. And then you can have them ask you about college. One thing we don't always make a big, use as a big resource is the fact that there are so many adults in the high school who attended college. And yet we don't talk about that in a way that inspires students. So you want to ask students to ask you about going to college. Another way, and this had to do with research opportunities, and what you see there are doors in the classrooms in Tennessee. And what they did was have students do research about schools. They had to put the cost of the school, how far away it was from where they lived, and any number of other facts that allowed not only the students that created the doors to learn, but for students passing by to learn. When you think about individualized advising and student research options, what we think is important is for you to ask your colleagues to share with that in their classes based on grade levels. You want to integrate college and career research into more than just an advisory session. It can be a topic in a social studies class. It can be a topic certainly in a math class or in a science class about career opportunities and how they can find out more about what's necessary to have a career in science, and provide them with websites and with college curriculum. Those are ways that we can encourage all students to be involved. Utilize virtual college tours. They've gotten so much better and so much more sophisticated than they were 10 years ago. College and scholarship essays can be assigned in English. Understanding financial aid is something that can be talked about in math. The end result is to make sure that students are identifying institutions that not only match their expectations, but are a good fit for their academic level and their financial ability. We sort of covered some of this about how do you assist with application completion. We want students to get their information together. We've provided you with our resources with a college application worksheet so that students can pull all that data together, their scores, their social security number, their residency information, because that's very typically found on most college applications. They need to know ahead of time that they have to request the school counselor to send in transcripts of their coursework. They also need to know how they're going to pay for the college application. Do they qualify for a fee waiver? That's something to speak to the school counselor about. We find that when students are assisted with their application completion, it builds their confidence that they could apply to another school on their own without so much assistance in the future. And remember, we want to be sure that the low income and students from first generation that are first generation college students get the assistance that they need. To engage parents in the community, there are lots of ways to get the word out. You can do it through phone blasts that your school uses, information letters, the school marquee. You can see the example here of how Denby High School in Virginia just simply put it on their school marquee and people that are passing by see it, students who are younger see it, it begins to build an awareness of, oh, this is when I do this work. You can have it on the school website. Friday Night Lights was a program that we knew about from Colorado, where football in the community in the fall is one of the big community gathering places, and the Chamber of Commerce would be there with a table and hand out materials and would before the game and tell students that to let them know if they had questions about the jobs in the community that they might be able to land after they get their education. Certainly you want to have a press release about it. We've got samples of that you can utilize. And then again, like the mayoral proclamation. Lastly, getting students to make decisions, decide to apply, and planning beyond it. The college application process is a process. It involves completing your financial aid form. It means understanding the financial aid award letters. And lastly, when it comes to celebrate college signing day or decision day, that's something that they need to know. It doesn't just end with submitting a college application. There are a number of available resources that are on our website, and that includes the college research worksheet, the college application worksheet, a college application fee waiver worksheet, college frequently asked questions, next steps after applying, and the I applied Facebook frame that they can use to have it tagged on social media. One of the things you may wonder whether it's really worth time to recruit and prepare volunteers is that we say emphatically, yes, it takes a little time, but it's so worth it. There are a number of people that you might consider asking to assist you on that day. Certainly college admission representatives are a great group. You might want to share those with folks across the state. Campuses can send financial aid officers. If you've got college advising corps members or college access professionals working in your school. Retired teachers are an excellent group to bring back. They still like students and may find this to be a great opportunity to reconnect with their colleagues. College students who are in the area can be very helpful, and then local business and political leaders. And that's something that we found really helps the school and really helps political and business leaders understand what is involved and why students are reticent sometimes to apply to college. Most of the political leaders that we've had congressmen, we've had mayors, we've had state legislators. They're pretty insistent on really working with a student and not just coming to have a photo op. So I think it's really powerful for them to know what is involved and why students need additional adults in the room to assist them. I think it's really important to know that all of these people have to understand that when they come in, this is about the students, and they have to check their own campus loyalties at the door. There are several tasks that volunteers can do to make it easier for the school counselor and maybe the college admissions reps, who are probably the most expert at finishing college applications. It's important for them to have time to be with students. And so if volunteers are in the room, they can make the time more valuable. They can greet students. They can answer simple questions. They can be responsible for reviewing applications after they've been completed and the student's been advised by somebody that's more expert. They can manage the sign-in sheets for you. Fill the printer with paper when it runs out, because students often want to print off the confirmation that their application was submitted. And lastly, serve as motivational role models. When adults make an environment inviting and supportive and celebratory, students begin to feel more confident about being involved. And why would you do it? It engages the community in your schools. That always improves, that makes schools healthier and more vibrant. It does highlight the importance of adult mentors. It shows that people care that students continue their education. And lastly, it brings additional resources to our shared responsibility for increasing educational attainment. How do you even think about recruiting them? Well, you've got access probably to newsletters with the school, presentations at meetings of local nonprofits. You can have a letter from the principal or the school counselor go out. Your personal contacts can be useful. And then public service announcements on the radio or on your local cable station. And we've given you a template for that so that you can just fill it out and send it in with the language that's already there, and you just have to put your high school and contact information. When thinking about recruiting volunteers, you do want to keep in mind whether or not they need to go through any background checks and whether or not they need to do anything special. To prepare them, and this preparation can be done by a letter, by a phone call, a conference call, or even an email. But it's important to give people an idea of what you expect. You want to tell them the tasks that they will be assigned. You want to gather their contact information because you want to be able to thank them at the end of this process. You want to go over any background check requirements. And again, that's why you might want to, especially this year, you might want to work with people who have already been approved for any background checks. And that would include college admissions personnel or financial aid officers. Any number of folks qualify for that. You do want to remind them to check their school loyalties at the door. You want to give them information about parking and answer their questions. Most importantly, though, with volunteers, thank them. You can't pay them, but you can thank them. Again, our website has a variety of materials. We have recruitment letters, we have calls, training and reference guides, task lists, a volunteer audit worksheet, and a thank you letter, and ways that you can post it on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The day of the event and afterwards. Well, the day of the event, you've done all this planning, so the day should go fairly smoothly. Just hold the event. Keep records of who and how many students applied. Now, the who is for you. It's not for us. We do not want to have any student level data. We want to know how many applications were submitted, who volunteered, and their contact information. Those are the records that you want to keep as a site coordinator. Quickly afterwards, you want to hold a debriefing session with volunteers and school personnel. You can do that with a conference call or a meeting. You want to probably include some students in that debriefing. How did this go for you? Did it work? What could we do better the next time we do this? You do want to send thank you notes. Prepare a newspaper article about the success of the event. Take pictures, put it in the paper. That's a great way to inform the community of a good news story that's going on in your school. As we said earlier, you need to collect data requested at the state level, and for you in Pennsylvania, you want to email your data points to ra-highereducation@pa.gov. Then lastly, it's critical that you take this opportunity to use your experience as your own development. So present at conferences on your experiences. If you need any slides from the national office, we'll be happy to provide those to you. Further, if you have a school counselor conference in your state and you want to present, we're happy to come and co-present with you on this. So we can build up more people who are prepared to host these events. Remind students to participate in the FAFSA completion activities. Give them the times and days for assistance. Let them know that there's always money that's left on the table that we need to be sure students are having access to when they need it. And you may be the person that's also going to be handling the FAFSA completion activities. So you can see that these activities complement and support each other. Lastly, we recommend that you have host a college signing day. It's a celebration time. It's a time for students to be able to say, this is what I'm going to do with the next part of my life. Typically, these are held around May 1st, but your school may want to do it sometime during the first week of May, the end of April. That's fine, but it's a really wonderful way for students to show their younger peers that this is how you go through the process and how you create success. If you have any questions, Mike Dotz is available at the email address you see here. Lastly, Melissa Caperton, Lisa King, and myself are available to assist you. We are happy to talk to you and do what's necessary to make your event a success. Our website, which I'm surprised for some reason I don't see on here, is, and I will say it very slowly, www.acenet.edu/ACAC. You can find all of the resources I referred to today under the resource tab on the right-hand side of our homepage. We wish you well, and we hope that you have a fabulous, fabulous campaign event. Thank you. You there, Mike?
I am.
Great. Okay. Well, I stopped the record.
Okay.
And hopefully that gives some folks something to listen to, okay?
Yeah, and it looked like you were reading from a script. Do you have actually like something written down that of what you were following?
Yeah. In fact, if you look at, I'll send you this, well, the slideshow has it. If you go to,
oh, is it on the bottom of the slideshow? Okay.
Yeah, you can just go to the notes page, and each slide should have those notes there.
Okay, good, because I think our press office, they can turn around the video and get it posted to our YouTube channel a little faster if they have a script to start from rather than having to rely on I guess they can run it through. YouTube has a thing to develop a transcript, but it's not real reliable, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Well, the script is down at the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll just copy that off then.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you. All righty. Well, I look forward to October 15th for another throw at this. Okay.
Okay. I will have our AA set that up, and I'll send the invitation out to you and Melissa. And if anything else comes up, let me know. If I run into any other problems or anything, I'll reach out and give you a call.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Thanks so much for making this happen.
Thank you for doing this. This was wonderful.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Joni. Bye.